Good morning, beautiful people. I thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that you are about to have the best day of your entire life. I thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you also to AdamMail.com, today's sponsor. AdamMail.com has literally thousands of items that will spice things up in the bedroom for you and your partner. It is a win-win-win, folks. AdamMail.com has things like sex toys, condoms, lubricants, underwear, DVDs. They have BDSM equipment. They have literally, like I said before, thousands of items. Now, as great as that is on its own, here's something even better. For Dewey Show listeners only, if you go to adammail.com and you use my offer code DEWEY, that's Dewey, at checkout, you will get 50% off of almost any one item as well as free and always discreet shipping. That's AdamMail.com, ADAMMALE.com, and the offer code is Dewey, that is DEWEY. Like everything else I talk about in today's show, this link and offer code will be in the description of today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you to AdamMail.com for sponsoring today's show. Good morning, folks. I hope that you're having a great start to a day that will end up being one of the best you've ever had. I will get right into the news here. Today we're going to talk about two really sensitive topics, okay? I want to talk first about Paul Pelosi's attacker being sentenced first, and then I'm going to talk about what's going on in the world of Vince McMahon. So let's get started. So a San Francisco federal judge found the Paul Pelosi attack especially chilling. David DePapa, I think is how you say his name, the man convicted of breaking into the home of Representative Nancy Pelosi's house and bludgeoning her husband with a hammer, was sentenced Friday to 30 years in prison, with credit for time served by a federal judge. After a 4-day trial, DePapa was convicted in November of attempting to kidnap a federal official and assaulting a federal official's family member. A jury returned the verdict after less than 10 hours of deliberation. Federal prosecutors asked a judge to sentence him to 40 years in prison for the gruesome incident. It's not an incident, okay? This guy is a fucking domestic terrorist. These fucking news people, they're using these fucking politically correct terms. This guy it's not an incident. This is a fucking terrorist attack on the former speaker of the fucking house. If she was home, that fucking crazy son of a bitch would have hurt her bad or killed her. Thank God she wasn't home. Thank God she didn't get hurt. But she could have. And that's what his goal was. He's a fucking domestic terrorist. And none of the charges that I read said anything about terrorism. If you are going to go and kill somebody who is a part of a group of people that you just disagree with, you are fucking nuts. And I get it. This guy is probably psychotic. Definitely he's not all there, right? But how in the fuck is 30 years what they landed on? I mean, this guy will probably be 70 by the time he's out, but really, who cares? He should be in there for I would say, probably 50 years is what he should get. Prosecutors were tasked specifically with proving that his actions and the hammer attack that left Paul Pelosi hospitalized with a skull fracture were driven specifically by Nancy Pelosi's official duties as a Speaker of Congress. Okay, that law is fucking stupid. Because he wouldn't know who Nancy Pelosi is, likely, right? If she was not the former Speaker of the House, and if she was not one of the party's people who who frequently is an outspoken member. And Donald Trump talks about it all the fucking time, and he even made fun of this incident. He made a joke about this man being attacked. Anyway, on Friday, David DePapa's defense attorney said that he should be given a sentence of 14 years, arguing that although what he did was awful, inexcusable, and just unjustifiable. I hate when they say, like, oh, it's unjustifiable, and then they try to justify it. I fucking hate that. But anyways, it paled in comparison to the criminality of the January 6th attack on the Capitol, where the most serious sentences for people convicted of seditious conspiracy range from 15 to 22 years. Quote, "This is a serious case, no doubt, but this is not a murder case," end quote. Said Angela Huang, I don't know how to say her name, a deputy federal public defender. Now, I'm not going to attack what she says. She's just trying to do her job. She's a public defender. I don't think she lives in San Francisco. The odds of her agreeing with, Trump is probably pretty slim. But in the last efforts to appeal to District Judge Jacqueline Scott Corley, DePapa's attorneys said their client was in a very low point of his life during the month leading up to the attack. DePapa's living situation was bad with limited bathroom access, they said, and he was socially isolated and gaslit, abused by family members intentionally, and cut off from his family, they added. Look, okay, there are times when not guilty by reason of insanity where that is valid, right? Because there are folks out there who can't help what they do, right? And this guy, do I believe that he was out of his mind when it happened? Abso-fucking-lutely I do. But do I believe that what he needs to do, instead of blaming Nancy Pelosi for what happened, is maybe blame the parents, right? Maybe blame the parents for cutting them off from the family, or whomever it was in the family, or whatever the case is, that cut him off of his family. I will never understand this. But folks, before I get an aneurysm from this, I'm gonna go. I love you folks. Be good to each other, and remember always that love is everything. Hey folks, thank you for listening so far into this podcast. Let's take a little bit of time to thank one of today's sponsors, AdamMale.com. Folks, AdamMale.com will spice your sex life up. I'm not even kidding. In fact, they are guaranteed to. AdamMale.com has literally thousands of items for you to choose from. Things like sex toys, condoms, lubricant, dildos, so many things to choose from. And the greatest part of that is if you go to AdamMale.com and use the offer code DEWEY, that's DEWEY, at checkout, you will get 50% off of almost any one item, as well as free and always discreet shipping. That's AdamMale.com, ADAMMALE.com. The offer code to use that at checkout is DEWEY. Along with everything else I talk about today, this link and offer code will be in the description of today's episode. Thank you. Vince McMahon and Janelle Grant. If talking about sexual assault is something that you are not a fan of, this is probably a podcast that you should skip. I have over 500 other podcasts on here that I know you would love, so you can go check those out if you want. I just want to look out for you because I know that it can, trigger people, and I don't want that. But yes, I did not report on the Vince McMahon thing in depth because I was doing something that removed me from bad news because I was just going through hell mentally. But anyway, let's get started. So I wrote this article. You can go to deweyshow.com/blog. and you can read along if you'd like. But yeah, we'll also talk about what's going on, in depth. So, in a developing legal matter involving former WWE CEO Vince McMahon, his legal team has taken affirmative action by submitting a, quote, statement of undisputed material facts, end quote, in furtherance of their ongoing efforts to move the proceedings to arbitration. Yes, Vince McMahon does not want this to end up at a jury trial where, he wouldn't be good. This is not, this is not a criminal matter. It's a civil matter. It should become a criminal matter, and I hope we'll see. I guess, um, but let's see. In furtherance of their ongoing effort to move the proceedings to arbitration, the background of this legal battle involves allegations that Janelle Grant, a former WWE employee, who was brought who has brought a lawsuit against McMahon. Grant accuses him of sustained emotional and sexual abuse throughout the duration of the multi-year relationship while she was a employee of the WWE. The primary argument from McMahon's legal representatives hinges upon a confidential settlement agreement which was purportedly established and mutually accepted between Grant and McMahon upon the termination of their personal and professional interactions, which occurred in January of 2022. The intention of the recent filing is intricate, as it underscores a confidentiality agreement's negotiations and the specific details of compensation Grant was to receive in acknowledgement to her signing the document. Yeah, so Vince is kind of a POS, and what's so sad about this is, I grew up and idolized this guy because he created some of my favorite people on earth, he funded my favorite type of entertainment, so I loved this man growing up. And it's hard to read this about him, and all the nasty things that he did, allegedly. I just, my heart is broken for two reasons. He turned out to be a horrible person, and poor Janelle Grant. I feel my heart goes out to her because she can't even leave her house, y'all. She is just so fucking traumatized by this that I don't know that she'll ever gain back her independence in any way, And it just sucks. The complexity of the situation is reflected in the financial aspect of the settlement. According to the legal team defending McMahon, a participant in the negotiation process but also, sorry, excuse me, I skipped lines. Grant was not only a participant in the negotiation, this is what McMahon saying, process, but also gave her concurrence to the final terms of the agreement. A critical part of what the settlement of the dispute through private arbitration. So what Vince wants to move this to arbitration, and whether Vince is guilty or not of this. I mean, anything is possible, but it's not probable. But he does not want any type of jury near this, because if there's a jury, he's going to lose. Because this is just crazy. It's crazy. And holy shit, I'm sorry, it started raining, which is not common. But, like I said, I'm sure that there's a lot of wrestling fans out there who feel the same way as me. A lot of people are like, well, fucking duh. There's something off about this person. And, with McMahon. But, it's sad. But, so Vince McMahon was required to pay her, per their agreement, $3 million. And he paid her, and that would be by 2026. He paid her an upfront sum of $1 million, and By 2026 she would get their full $3 million, but he stopped paying her, which was dumb. And so that is why she entered into the lawsuit. Because guess what? She's never going to be able to work again because she's so traumatized by what Vince McMahon allegedly did to her. Okay, let's see. McMahon's team's latest motion hence serves a dual purpose. First, to establish the unavoidability of the facts surrounding Grant's acceptance of and participation in the settlement's terms, and second, to convince the court of the binding nature of the agreement that they argue unequivocally stipulates of the motion, and its acceptance or rejection by the court could get set a precedent, and will likely be a significant deciding factor in how the case unfolds, with wide-reaching implications for both parties. Now, I just wanted to bring something up that is germane to this conversation, which is, do you folks remember how the feds executed a warrant to search Vince McMahon's house? I wonder what they found there, if anything. Because I've been checking and the evidence is sealed, obviously. But you never know, right? I guess we'll never know. But I will keep you informed on what's going on with this lawsuit. My heart goes out to Janelle. And look, if you are someone who is facing sexual abuse by anyone, or if you know somebody who is, you can go to rainn.org. That is RAINN.org, and get some help. Folks, I love you, and never forget that love is everything.